Hey, today I want to talk about the idolization or maybe even deification, I guess, of ruthlessness. Not necessarily just in American culture, but in general culture, mainly Western culture, though, I'd say. This discussion for me comes from a place of seeing Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Steve Jobs and maybe even Elon Musk, although people don't quite like him as much anymore. But seeing the way in which they are again, deified might be strong, but they're idolized. Uh, they're definitely idolized. And as a kid, I would say I looked up to all those people at some point in my life. And a big part of why they're idolized is their success. Actually, that is the primary reason that led to them being idolized, I would say. All of them are very successful in their fields. And, there's like metrics, there's hard data to prove this. There's championships, there's MVPs, there's money, there's phones sold, there's Teslas on the road. So there's like an inarguable proof of concept, I guess, for them as people, or proof of success, proof that what they're doing is working. I think that we then worked backwards, and as a kid, so I see like who's the best basketball players. Michael Jordan had just retired when I was a kid, and now it's Kobe. Look at them. I'm like, oh, cool, that's the best player. I love him. I want to watch him play. Wow, he's so good. What makes him so good? And then, for Kobe, this was actually intentionally made as a big part of his brand after 2003. They are ruthless. They are assholes. They are disrespectful to the people around them when they decide it's right to be that way in order to push those people to be better. And the implication being that that is the optimal way to push the people around you is by behaving in that manner. And yeah, they're hyper competitive, and this is acceptable because they are the best. And honestly, in the case of, I think in all of their cases to some degree, it's promoted that this is actually the reason they become the best. Like, this is, if they were not assholes, they would not be able to be the best. Not just it's fine because they're the best. I hate this idea. And I think that our emphasis as a culture on success and outcome is has allowed this idea to prosper and to spread, which is the idea that being a dick can be good. That this pushiness, this ruthlessness. I'm using the word ruthlessness. I think that that's a pretty good word to describe it. I don't know what it means to be ruthful, to have ruth, but to be without it is to be willing to do whatever it takes. And this concept dates back to like Iago in Shakespeare, but there it's clearly villainized, this character who's willing to do anything for his success, for his ambition. And at some point, we started putting success over virtue for some people. Um, and there's like a lot of people who you can cite like to some degree or another. Floyd. I'm not gonna list assholes who are successful. I could go forever, but the point is, I think we need to be conscious about ignoring this mindset, this this mindset that was in many ways used just to excuse the behavior of people who are at the top of their field, and I think is sourced in large part from our inability to see beyond what has actually happened. So what I mean by that is all the lives of these people could have been very different. There is so much luck that goes into them being them. Kobe has a father who's an NBA player, and he practiced and practiced and practiced, and that had nothing to do with him being an asshole. I could have been the biggest asshole ever and also practiced 14 hours a day of basketball. I'm like a 5'10" brown guy. I was never going to be in the NBA. There is nothing inherent. There's nothing about being an asshole that is inherently required for success. And as a good counterfactual, I would give Steph Curry, who has never been reported to be an asshole to anyone. He's commonly regarded as a very kind, nice person, and he had a father who was in the NBA, and he spent hours and hours in the gym, and that obsession is good. I would say the obsession and the willingness to do whatever it takes for your craft. That is a feature that should definitely be idolized. You could call it grit, I think, but it's not just grit. There's like a degree of hyperfixation, I would say, or obsessive drive that goes beyond just, hard work that is required, probably within people who already have these amazing genetic gifts to make it in sports and even in other fields as well. But there's nothing about Steph. If Steph was an asshole, would he have been better? Do you generally think that if he was meaner to Klay Thompson, that the Warriors would have won the 2016 finals? Like this idea, this narrative that's pushed in society that being a dick is acceptable at the top level of stuff. I think it's stupid, and obviously tempers flare sometimes, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a pattern of behavior, and I don't just mean to say Shaq is another example, but Kobe and Michael Jordan are the worst people ever. Everyone has their ups and downs, and I just am focusing on the specific trait which I'm referring to. I think we got to be mindful about. I think it's actually inherently negative. I think it detracts from a team environment, and maybe I'm being wishful here. Maybe I just wish the world was a place where being good meant you're rewarded and everything works out. But I do think we should be intentional and be mindful of this idea that's being sold to us that being toxic is good for top level people. I don't think it's true at all. And I think Steph Curry as a counterexample is a great example. Even LeBron James, who, might be a bit of a diva sometimes in certain areas, or might ask for certain teammates to be traded. He's never an asshole. He's never punching teammates or he's trying his best to win, and he's in the gym and he's working his hardest. But obsessiveness can be separated from toxicity, I would say. And when they're combined, that's kind of what I'm referring to as being ruthless, which is something I don't think we should strive for. And I just again, I don't have a proof. I have a counterexamples to the idea that it's necessary or that it's true that being an asshole makes you better, but I don't have a proof that there's nothing about being an asshole that adds value to these situations. So maybe I'm just hoping it's true that the world is a place where people can come together and pursue goals with extreme dedication and focus, and as a team, with unity. And just for the sake of a goal, there doesn't need to be this, I'd say, masculine butting of heads and anger that brings out the best in people. I think the best in people can be brought out by positive emotions as well. Hopefully that's true. Thanks for watching today. Bye.